Hi, my name is Jimmy Williams with NFL Draft Diamonds, and I have one of these diamonds in the rough for you guys today. He is probably the best Division II linebacker that you really need to know. His name is Clay Schueffner. He is out of Winona State. Nice to meet you, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. Greatly appreciate it.
Sure. I mean, again, I personally feel like you're one of these guys who's legitimately the top D2 linebacker. But here lately, man, you've actually been on the Shrine Bowl watch list, which is crazy for a guy out of Winona State. So I'm curious about your story. So let's go ahead and get started. Tell me where you're from, and we'll just kind of walk through it.
Yeah, so I grew up in a small farm town outside of Fond du Lac, Wisconsin, called St. Cloud, Wisconsin. It's a population of, you know, under 400 people in the town. So I grew up in a small town farm community, like I said, farming with my grandpa and my uncle. I have a brother and a sister, and my mom and dad obviously grew up in the country, and that's just kind of the lifestyle we lived. I went to a small Catholic grade school in the middle of a bunch of cornfields. I had 10 kids in my graduating class from K3 all the way to eighth grade. I only had 10 kids in my class, so very small, kind of used to it. Then I went to a smaller high school in St. Mary Springs Academy, right inside Fond du Lac, Wisconsin as well. Um, Only had 58 kids in my graduating class there, so small school type of guy over here. But then went to St. Mary Springs, had a pretty successful high school career there. Played basketball, ran track. Um, Also played football as well, obviously. Went to one state three times in high school at state football or for football. So football is
Nice.
kind of our school thing. We're kind of known for to be a football school. Also went to track three times, or went to state track three times, and basketball we weren't as successful as football and track, but we fought, we tried hard. So
So,
but
so
then
what did you do in track? Were you a runner or a thrower or what?
I ran. So we had a good relay team. There's four of us that three of us were came in through together. So we three of us, three out of the four in the relay, we were together since freshman year to senior year. So we were pretty tight group. Us three guys, did fairly well. None of us
Cool.
stuck out, over the others. So, but then it was just always, finding that fourth fill-in guy. And then, we were able to piece a lot of good stuff together. Obviously had a very tight bond. So then it led to, a very successful track career, going to state 3 out of our 4 years and making the podium 2 out of our 4 years. So, it buffed out to be pretty good.
Cool. So, obviously, small town guy, ended up going to a small school of Winona State, which, sometimes people kind of wonder, why do these guys go small school? And maybe it is truly just because you're from out of the middle of the cornfields, man. And so that's kind of how the recruiting is at times. Coming out of high school, were there other options for you, or was that the only one available?
Yeah, I had a lot of offers from schools in the NSIC, Moorhead, Bemidji, obviously Winona, Southwest, St. Cloud State when they still had a team. But I actually got a lot of interest from the Mo Valley. Had a preferred walk on to NDSU, preferred walk on to play fullback at SDSU. But just kind of the way things buffed out, I thought, going Division II, going to Winona State was just the best fit for me. For me, my family, and even financially, kind of just everything fell into place there, and kind of everything pointed to go to Winona State, and that's kind of how it all went out, or how it all buffed out. And very happy with my decision and the decision I made. So
Well, I mean, of
very
course,
happy
you're
with that.
you're a linebacker. You didn't end up a fullback, so and you've been a pretty darn good one at the Division II level. Crap load of tackles, all these accolades, all conference lists, preseason lists, and such here, which you're primed to really finish out very well there at Winona State. But before we get talking about some football, talk more about Winona State, man. What makes that university so special?
Yeah, so when I first got recruited there, that was the era of Coach Sawyer. Coach Sawyer was there for 26 years, has a long list of accolades himself. So, I mean, he was a guy that really, he's a great recruiter. He makes you feel like you are truly wanted and truly like the university fits you. You don't fit the university. So that's what was really unique about him. He did a good job, came to an in-home visit, which isn't, at the D2 level, not a lot of head coaches, go to in-home visits. So like when he came to my house and sat down with my family, I was like, yeah, he really cares, he cares about me, cares about my family. So that was the start of it. And then when I got to campus, like you said, small town vibe, not a very big city. I mean, big for me, Winona's 27,000. I'm used to 400, but it still gave me that small town outdoorsy vibe. The landscaping out there, if you've ever been out there, is beautiful with the bluffs and the Mississippi. So I don't know, I kind of just fell in love with the area. I had some friends that were there, prior, and they kind of, helped with the recruiting because they were there and they wanted to obviously see me go there as well. So, but yeah, I kind of just fell in love with the landscape and, the university, had what I wanted to do in life, and yeah, it all kind of buffed out that way that, kind of just fell in love with it.
Sure. And I mean, I know you've been there for a while, probably gotten at least one degree along the way. What'd you get that in?
I have a double undergraduate in MIS, which is Management Information Systems and Management, and then I'm going for a master's program in leadership right now.
Nice. Well, I mean, hey, I mean, you've got pretty good education there at Winona State. What would you say has been your most difficult class to date?
Ooh, I don't know. With some of the MIS stuff, it's kind of like more of the computer side of business. So I've had to take a few coding classes, and those have been pretty difficult to say the least. I don't want
Well,
to do coding, but it was kind of part of the, major a little bit. But yeah, those can get difficult at times.
well, sometimes in college you have to take the classes that you don't necessarily like in order to get to where you want to be. But certainly finish that class and moving forward to get your master's, and then obviously along the way, man. Obviously, most people know you as a football player, so let's get to talking about some football. So. Um, Again, like I had said before, a lot of crazy accolades, all these tackles and stuff, but a fixture there and leader on that defense. Can you describe that defense a little bit, if you don't mind?
Yeah. So with our new coaching staff, obviously coming all from South Dakota State, it looks very familiar to South Dakota State's, but that's all right. They do a great job. They do a lot of good stuff, and obviously we've kind of adapted that at the D2 level. Trying to be a hard nose, stop the run, make you throw the ball on us type of a defense. We've always had a very good D line since I've been there. I feel like we never, lose guys. We always just reload guys. Obviously, there's bits and pieces to that, but then as like the linebackers, you know, in that defensive scheme, you truly are, the leaders. Like you're responsible for, getting guys set up, getting everyone in the right spot, making all the checks, and you really have to be a vocal leader on that defense if you're going to play, the Mike linebacker, especially. So, just kind of accepting my role in that position and kind of trying to find any way I can grow in it. And then obviously, Coach Berge being a big defensive back, guys, he's continuously working with them, growing. We're doing new things, and I really like it. We're trying to disguise some stuff, and we're throwing. We have like the playbook's very big, but when it comes time down to game planning, we only carry certain plays. So throughout the week, you're only thinking about like this group of plays. You're not thinking about the whole 30 plays that we can call out of that playbook. So it's a
Cool.
lot, but you know what? It's good. And I really enjoy it. And I know our defense gets pretty amped up to play every day. So that's the best part.
Nice. So, again, talking to you from the framework of a guy who's on the radar of a lot of scouts these days, and of course, may end up playing on Sundays here soon. So, what do you feel separates you from all the other linebackers out there? What do you think is like the best trait that you have?
I feel just my work ethic. I feel like for me, I'm a guy that his mindset is I get out of it what I put into it, and I've loved the sport of football from little on, as I've said in previous interviews with you guys. But I'm a guy that's going to be the first guy there every day. You know, doing all the necessary stuff to get warmed up, get ready for practice, get my mind right, and then even like off the field, being on the field doing extra stuff, being like the first guy in the weight room doing extra mobility, extra stretching, anything it takes really to get the job done and get my body and my mind right. I'm a big film guy. I love to sit down and like watch film, even though that's where a lot of people in their game they fall off because it can be boring at times. I'm not saying every time I flip on the film, I love to sit there and watch it, especially teams that run the same 5 plays. But it is what it is. It's part of the job, I'd say, and it's whatever it takes to be successful. That's what really kind of separates me is my work ethic and doing whatever it takes. Sometimes the glamorous things in football aren't always the best thing or the funnest things, I should say, to do.
Sure, I understand. Clay actually had one of our scouts at the Hula Bowl take a quick gander at you, and he actually wrote up an article, like a player report on you recently. So something for people to check out. But our senior Hula Bowl scout is Mike Bay, and some of the things that he said about you were really good, man. He said that you were a good run defender with good range, and explosiveness was good. And then also the one thing that really stands out is the fact that you're very solid in coverage, which I feel that's where the position of linebacker has really it has to take these days. I mean, you got to be able to drop back into coverage because it's such a pass heavy sport these days, pass heavy league in the NFL. I mean, what do you think?
I mean, obviously, I'm my biggest critic, so I'm going to nitpick a lot of stuff, when I turn on film and stuff like that. But it's just, I'd say, give a good shout out to our coaching staff, kind of teaching us certain movements that give us an edge or certain play recognitions on certain formations and stuff like that. So I just, the little things you can work on. It's hard to work on run stopping when you're, out there on the field. So it's like, oh, what do you work on? Pass coverage stuff, getting your drop faster, working on some man-to-man stuff. So obviously it's something that I practice all the time, and it's something that obviously you need to practice all the time, but definitely always room for improvement, no matter who you are, how good you are. So
Right. So Clay, I kind of want to reflect a little bit. I mean, obviously, you came in several years ago and now you're in the position where you're on a lot of teams' radars. And so really what I want to ask is what is the biggest difference between you now versus like 5 years ago, man, when you were a freshman?
I would just say my overall knowledge of the game itself and like kind of like off the like understanding what you need to do off the field as well. Like I came in my freshman year and I thought always more was better. Like I need to be on the field for 2 hours and then the weight room for 2 hours, and I just overdo and kill myself. And necessarily when I go out there now, it's like I know what I need to get done. I'm out there. I'm efficient. I know I get enough work in, and then I also recover better because I know if I did this amount of work on the field, I need to spend this amount of time stretching or doing sitting in the Normatex, recovering, doing something. And then obviously my on the field knowledge, just understanding how they block up, how certain teams block up power, how certain teams run their inside zone. Each team it's the general basics, but each team always has their sprinkle to something. And then obviously you talk about the pass game, just understanding route concepts themselves. If I get an out of number three, what am I going to see for number two? Or if I get a vertical of three, am I going to get something for number two? Should I be like ready for that stuff? Or so just kind of understanding the basics of football and how they work, and kind of how does each team attack us, and how should we attack each team each week. Obviously it's different, so it's just how understanding what we're trying to do each and every week.
Yeah, and I mean, of course, you got one more season left to go. You're fixing to go out there once again and prove to people why you are the best at what you do at your level of competition. And you know, How's this season gonna look for you guys? I mean, give me some sense as to this upcoming season. Obviously, there's always turnover of guys and stuff. Obviously, like you said, you're reloading on some players, but give me some sense of your outlook to this upcoming season.
Yeah, obviously defensively, losing a few guys, losing one of our better or one of our I shouldn't say one of our better corners, I would say. Brian Corbin did a pretty good job for us last year, came with a lot of interceptions. Then guys like losing guys like Carter Duxbury, Luke Lashinsky, Corey King, those were 3 out of our 4 defensive ends. So we had to address some of that with some of the younger guys that have been working really hard. We actually had a kid move over from running back to play defensive end. It's kind of a weird transition, but it buffed out in his favor to transition that way. So he's coming over, and then we went out and got another transfer. So defensive line, we're not losing a lot interior wise. We're kind of bringing a lot of guys back in there. Linebackers, we're basically bringing back everyone. We had one senior last year that was in the mix a little bit, but he was kind of a rotational guy. And now we're bringing up a lot of young talent too that was very promising during the spring and even during winter workouts in the summer. So very excited about our room. And then DB wise, we're missing a guy like Mitch Snicker, which it's going to stink a little bit, but I have a lot of confidence in the guys that are back there, that are, been working really hard with Coach Bergstrom and Coach Myrick. So very happy defensively. I think defensively will be very solid. Just got to continuously, stack days day by day. Offensively, some new faces this year. A guy that will be in the mix for quarterback this year, Cole Stenstrom. He's a transfer guy from South Dakota. Brought in 2 transfer wide receivers, one guy from Northern State, who's obviously becoming a pretty big rival of ours as of lately, and then a kid from Carthage. He's very good athlete, very rangy kid. So very excited to see what those 2 guys do. And then running back wise, obviously losing Sam stinks, but we went out and got 2 transfer guys, a guy from Eastern Kentucky and a guy from South Dakota State. So very excited to see what they do along with Ty Gavin. Ty Gavin was our leading rusher last year. So anytime you bring back your leading rusher, it's always a good sign. O-line will be pretty young, but I bet you those guys will, rally the troops. Coach Olson does a good job with them guys. So they'll figure it out. It might be a little work, but that's fine. It is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate you running down all that for us, Clay. Something for us really to look forward to this upcoming season. I mean, last season, I mean, you guys did pretty well. It didn't, turn out exactly the way you planned, but I mean, you were able to get to the playoffs, and hopefully you can get a little further this go around. So we'll see how this season rolls out. So, anyways, obviously, dude, you've been a part of a lot of great moments so far. So why don't you share one of those with us? I mean, when you think about maybe some of the games or maybe even a specific play, give me one of those.
Yeah, I'd say games. I'd say obviously this year against Sioux Falls, obviously it was our homecoming game. So obviously a lot of people in town. Um, it was a big game. They were 7-0, as they deserved it. They played a lot of good football earlier in the year, and they came into us, 7-0, number 9 or I think they're 11 in the nation at the time. So, and I think we had 1 loss at the time, I believe. No, 2 losses at the time. So it's kind of like getting towards that point where it's like to do or die. Like we need to roll here. Not many 2-loss teams, nonetheless 3-loss teams get in the playoffs. So we were kind of on that line there. Obviously we know later on we lose to Mankato and we still get in the playoffs, but that game was kind of one of the bigger points in the year that was like, we're like, yeah, we can, hang with some of these better teams in our conference. And there's no doubt about it. Like, everyone kind of writes us off as like, yeah, they're good. They win a lot of big games, but they can never, get over the peak, And at that point, it was like I said, it was do or die. And they came into us, and they're a team that likes to run the ball down your throat, getting that big 12, 11, 13 personnel type of stuff and just hammer down. And that game, they marched down the field right away, 10 plays. It was like, ooh, this would be a long game if we don't get something together. And literally that next few drives, everything just started to click. And we were shutting down the run, making them one-dimensional. And they had a younger QB that year, coming off I believe he was a redshirt freshman. So it was like, gotta make him make some decisions at that time. So, we stopped the run, made him make some decisions, and we made him force him into 2 turnovers, and one being the final drive of the game that sealed the game. So it was great. I was very, very excited after that game. It was a great confidence booster. Then, the next week we turned around, we played Augustana, and we, handed it to him pretty well. So that was definitely a big step in our season last year, and a season or a game that I will definitely never forget.
Crazy. And then of course, obviously you have one more season. Any games that you got circled this year?
I mean, we have a very tough schedule this year. Obviously, when a team beats you twice, like Bemidji did last year, you get pretty excited, pretty amped up to see them on your schedule again. They're a very good team. Coach Bolte does a great job with them, very well coached, and they return a lot too. So, we're gonna have to get up, get amped for that one. That's for sure. We have to go to Bemidji again, so going there 3 times in a year always stinks. It's a long bus drive, and most of the time it's cold up there. So that one's definitely on the mind. And then Northern State, definitely for sure. They're a team that's trending in the right directions. They're doing a lot of good stuff up there. But last 2 times they've kind of handed it to us, so that's definitely one that be circled on the schedule. They're back-to-back weeks, so those are gonna be 2 big weeks for us.
Great. Clay, do you want to take just a brief moment to meet you outside of football a little bit? So anything else that you want to share, whether it be hobbies, interests, passions, whatever? What do you feel people need to know about Clay Schueffner?
Yeah, like I said, I grew up in a small farm town community. Actually just got done milking the cows this morning. My grandpa's gone to Alaska, so someone had to fill in for him. So still come home and hang out. I mean, I shouldn't say I love to farm. Farming is one of them things that's a love-hate relationship, but I enjoy doing it. It's good quality time with, my uncle and my grandpa. But, being outdoors, big UTVer, I love to ride four-wheelers, side-by-sides, kind of love to do it all. I like to hunt as well. So just an outdoorsy guy, love to do that type of stuff. And, being in Winona, all the outdoorsy, cool scenery and stuff like that obviously plays into the my hobbies and such like that. So
Awesome. Few quick questions. Hopefully we can get through these things real quick. So just a real quick answer if you don't mind. So favorite breakfast cereal?
oh, Fruity Pebbles.
Fruity Pebbles. That's a new one. Um, uh, Pepsi, Coke, or something else?
I don't drink any soda.
Well, what's the something else?
Gatorade for sure.
Gatorade. What flavor are we going
Crazy
for?
it is, it's yellow. I love yellow Gatorade.
All right, well that's good. You a movie or guy or what?
Uh Depends on the movie. It's gotta be. I'm a very big action guy, so it's gotta be a movie with a lot of action.
So who would be your favorite superhero then?
Superhero. Oh man, I'd say Superman himself.
There you go. Can't go wrong with the classic. So
Yeah.
Clay, I know you probably also study some guys at the next level. Who are you a big fan of somebody who plays your position?
I've been the biggest fan of Luke Kuechly for the longest time. He's kind of been the high school guy you always watch, growing up and stuff like that. He's been the background of my phone for, God, I don't know. Every time I get a new phone, I just put him as it and I don't really change it. So, still my background of my phone that I have today. He's been that way since high school. So definitely him by far.
Well, hopefully one of these days, maybe 10 years down the road, you'll be on someone else's phone. Because
That would be
you'll
sweet.
be in the league here very soon. So, Clay, I know that there's some scouts that are wondering about you. So, let's go ahead and just kind of wrap things up. You go ahead and talk to them, tell them why they need to take a chance on you, and bring you into their team. So, hit them with your pitch.
Yeah, any team that gives me the opportunity is obviously gonna get a guy that's gonna, work to do anything to benefit the team. Not every role out there on the football field's a glamorous one, but I'm willing to, play any role that it takes to, help the team succeed. The team comes first. It's always been my mindset, and whatever I need to do to, help the team win is the guy I'm going to be. So you'll get a hard worker, like I said, you'll get a guy that's first there, last to leave. So doing whatever it takes, this is what you're going to get out of me. That's for sure.
Sure. I mean, certainly a guy who I feel is a good overall solid player, can play the run very well, can drop back into coverage very well, can be a great leader. I know you've been a team captain there for a while. So and a guy who is an exemplary character on and off the field. So Clay, appreciate your time and wish you very best of luck in this process. All right.
Yeah, thank you very much. Greatly appreciate you having me on today.
No problem. Once again, Clay Schueffner, linebacker out of Winona State. Check this guy out this season.